So when you can be your own internet search by knowing stuff, I'm just saying, like, we got to stop belittling each other.
Looks like we got us another hit.
She's going to break this down really good. I saw this video and I was already had been thinking about this. So it was crazy that I don't even know who this person is or how they showed up on my timeline, but I was already thinking about how I used to watch Russell Brand's clips all the time, and I haven't watched a clip of him in months. And it's because of the clickbait and all of this stuff. Like what she's going to break down in this video is the reason why I haven't watched his stuff.
If you haven't thought about him since his divorce from Katy Perry, you might have missed his transformation. You might remember Brand as a left-wing comedian who got famous in the 2010s for saying things like,
"None of us can be happy as long as any of us are treated with discrimination."
He billed himself as an anti-establishment, anti-corporate free thinker.
You talk vaguely about revolution. What is
A
it?
socialist egalitarian system based on the massive redistribution of wealth, heavy taxation of corporations.
He would go viral for having all of these ridiculous fights with Fox News hosts.
Strive to be fair.
When The Guardian named him as one of the heroes of 2014, they described him as the best thing that's happened to the left in years.
When they say conservative, what are they trying to conserve, actually? It's hatred.
But 2023 Russell Brand has a slightly different vibe.
New footage appears to show that January the 6th was not an attempted insurrection. There's only 8 of us. How can this be a thorough clinical trial? Election interference in the Clinton campaign.
Over the past few years, Brand has become a right-wing darling. He hosts a daily live stream where he regularly features right-wing reactionaries like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson.
Have you got everything you need? Can I offer you any more snacking gum?
He's become a major conspiracies about everything from vaccines to the war in Ukraine to the Clinton body count.
The statistically high number of people that have taken unusual decisions after knowing the Clintons.
And he's buddy-buddy with the same right-wing news outlets that he used to condemn.
So we are honored to have him with us. He's the host of Stay Free with Russell Brand on Rumble.
It's like, why did this?
And, you know, they like to say Rumble is a right-wing platform or whatever. I don't really like it when stuff like that, because we the people decide on what it is. It's how we use it. And it could have been created for that purpose, but it doesn't even matter, because once we get on there and we create our stuff on there, then we decide on what the hell we create and what is there. I'm on Rumble, and I don't consider the right conservative or whatever. You know, it's just a platform that I use. But when I'm looking at analytics on YouTube specifically, because I don't really look at, and I don't even know how the analytics work on Rumble. But anyways, I'm always looking at the YouTube analytics. And if I do stories about Trump, about, you know, Tucker Carlson, stuff like that, then that stuff is gold. It gets views, it gets clicks, it gets interaction. People make comments like, I could easily probably get this channel to be monetized if I would just talk about like supporting Trump or whatever, like, you know, extreme conservative views or whatever. If I just spouted those over and over again, whether I believe them or not, it wouldn't matter. It would get lots of views and the channel would blow the F up. And I know this because I look at the analytics all the time, but I want to have integrity. And I also want to cover both sides. I want to have talks about ideas in general and bring the sides together so that we can move forward. This division, this divisive partisan politics is killing us, really. It's killing our political process. It's making us look at our neighbors as enemies. And I don't want to be a part of that. You know, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Even if it made me millions of dollars, I would still pass on it. So, but, you know, like I say, that stuff works. And that's the reason why Russell Brand is doing it. Let me play some more.
This happened. How did we go from this
left-wing commie scum named Russell Brand
to this?
I'm super excited. I'm welcoming Russell Brand to the show. Yes.
If we want to understand Brand's radicalization, we need to understand his YouTube channel. It's been around for over a decade, and it's had like 3 different eras.
To the guy, Kyle Vin, the CV, if you're still there, He says, first time tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, checking us out. What the stream's about. We talk about difficult topics and we try to, we tend to argue. Me, Doc, and Pat, we have different political leanings and we tend to argue about the topics or whatever. And the point of it is to bring conversation about ideas from different perspectives to get people to be able to move forward together. So overall, that is what the show tends to be about every time. Today, I'm going to focus on the courts and we're going to talk about immigration. And right now, we're talking about how Russell Brand has been he came out as a left wing darling, and now if the fans didn't know who he was before, it's really strange how you can just like rebrand yourself or whatever. Like they didn't hear none of this stuff. I guess it's because of the algorithm. They pick it up and it gets bounced around, and people probably didn't know where. He's not being genuine. Is what I'm.
You trying to get cussed out?
He's not being genuine. This guy, he's not. I know where he is, where he stands politically. I've been following him for years. So the content that he's making recently doesn't align with what his true views are.
No, just because somebody because I used to be the same way. Like it just some things make more sense now because when you actually can see the truth, like you move and you move accordingly to the things that you feel are more true. Like you don't just stick around just because, oh well, I'm gonna give this person a chance. Because no, when you own some bullshit, fuck you, and you move on. But if you see something where people are actually trying to make changes in the world, trying to protect people, trying to do different things, and make awareness, like there's a lot of things that he says that you agree with too. So how is it that you can just say that he's just not being genuine because he's not on the same thing he was 10 years ago?
I totally sympathize with what you're saying about like the evolution of your I feel like your position should change over time about things as you learn more about things. But I also feel that Russell Brand was trying to have a positive impact in the world or whatever. Even though he was a comedian, he played in those little movies and stuff like that, but
even now. So
but now, no, I feel like he's all about making money. He doesn't care. Like he's lost his his direction.
He didn't already have money.
I mean, you got to continue to make money. You got bills to pay, and then it's when you're in that world where it's all about competition. How much did you make last year? What is your square footage? How much did that Ferrari cost or whatever? Like, I mean, there's a lot of pressure.
No, some of us are self-motivated, period. I mean, we're going to do good no matter what. And then sometimes, like, what we feel is doing bad, some people is just like, oh my God, like, all they care about is money. Like, no, there's some of us just, naturally want to progress in every area of our lives. And that means being honest with yourself, being able to self-check yourself and see, is it that what it is that you're promoting is actually something that's good for the world. So just because you're comfortable or, people get comfortable in the situations they're in, don't necessarily want to make those changes. And, like they find reasons to make other people the bad guy. And that's what I feel is actually happening right now, because I don't think that that's your personality, but for whatever reason, that's what it feels like, because you're taking away, you're saying he's not being genuine, and I don't see where's the proof. Like he's saying things like, like is there somewhere he's some film that you got somewhere where he's saying that, well, look, I'm, like what Donald Trump did in the 80s when he was on Oprah, said, oh yeah, I'm gonna run for president one day. I'll probably run, as a Republican, and because they're stupid. But at the same time, a lot of those people have evolved and are actually seeing things a lot clearer. It's just that's my point of view of it.
I feel you on that. It's just that in a lot of cases, it's not true. We're in the age of the grifters, man. The grifters. They make lots of money grifting, and making it appear to be that they're genuine or whatever, but they're not. They're just trying to make money. They're telling people what they want to hear because that makes them money.
But look,
And
I
it's
mean, there's other people that I've heard the same thing about that I think are very genuine about their word because, well, now there's one that I'm not so, I don't think is really that genuine, but they kind of, I think, kind of do that. But what's his name? Shapiro? What's that little young dude? He hates
yeah, Ben
Candace Owens
Shapiro.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Ben. There's a bunch of Shapiros, but yeah,
Eyebrows.
Ben Shapiro. But
Yeah.
they talk shit. They talk shit about Candace Owens, and like a lot of the things that she's been saying for the past decade, it's been like it's really just true. It's just some people don't want to accept and try to continually blame other people for why those things happen instead of saying we can do something to change it. And like if you really speak truth now, it hurts people's feelings. Like people get upset and they, feel like, oh, they just attacked me. Well, look, some of us are actually seeing the world from a different point of view, and maybe if you would really open up and allow yourself to see different angles or points of view, you might be able to get it too.
Yeah. Well, that's the point of the show. And I wouldn't call Candace Owens a grifter. I really think that she's being truthful to herself about the way she feels about things. Even though I disagree with her on a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff she says I completely agree with her. And so she pisses off her base all the time with some of the stories that she does because she's keeping it 100. So I don't think whenever you are playing to your base and everything that you say they love, then there's a good chance that you're grifting. You know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
it's that's
All
just
right,
the reality.
I still need a little more evidence because I can't say with the same confidence that I hear you speaking with about Brand because I really feel like I mean I know he's a good actor, but I mean I didn't think he was that great to be able to pull off some of the things that he says and to give that kind of inflection that he does in these conversations. Like I mean, like I
Because
said,
I know the dude is really smart. So him selling this stuff that he knows is most likely not true is him grifting. Let me play some more of this. Check it.
I want to make a Taylor Swift joke here, but like, I don't even want to do her dirty with that association.
Thank you.
First, the lefty era. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was reading. You wouldn't get it. In 2014, Russell launched The Truths, a political commentary web series that focused on criticizing right-wing media. He publishes
Nice to
episodes
watch that.
comparing Fox News to ISIS and Nazis and accusing them of fueling the war.
ISIS is a fanatical religious terrorist organization.
So's Fox News.
He starts The Truths alongside publishing his book Revolution, in which he advocates for a non-violent social revolution against capitalism.
Let me know what you think.
His YouTube show really reflects that anti-establishment, anti-corporate persona, producing these boilerplate left-wing takes that really worked for me and other 18-year-olds on Reddit. He asked questions like, is capitalism a religion? How can we stop Islamophobia? Would a president with a vagina make a difference? Should you be paid as much as your boss? And these videos do pretty well, usually around 100,000 to 300,000 views, but they're not exactly viral, in part because they're kind of heady.
Fear is just a thing we've got to travel through.
Brand invites a bunch of left-wing thinkers to have these messy, complicated conversations about economics and revolution and the dangers of celebrity culture. It's all good, but it's kind of inaccessible.
Now, how do we build communities around those values? Talk to me about decentralized autonomous communities and how they could work and what the hell that means.
In one interview, Brand is talking about how the media uses fear tactics to scare people and pivots to reading philosophy about how humans are too afraid of dying.
The subject of death, says Ramdas, is a topic most of us would generally rather avoid.
It's giving first date with a freshman philosophy major. And Brand dabbles more and more in this high-mindedness until eventually we get to era 2.
The guru era.
Around 2017, Brand decides to pivot. He's still doing some political stuff, but The Truths is publishing more and more self-help content.
You need a spiritual practice in order to be happy.
He publishes a couple of self-help books about recovering from addiction.
Any behavior that you would like to change, this book can help you with it.
He starts inviting on spiritual leaders and other self-help authors and doing guided meditations and focusing on topics like how I stop self-sabotaging, freedom from pain, and 5 habits that could destroy your relationship.
How are you going to stop self-sabotaging?
He's still doing the free thinker shtick, but now he's really free.
If consciousness has always been present, then we have a chance of real change rather than superficially shuffling chessboard pieces around on the black and white Masonic grid of our who's them dudes? Illuminati.
It's all pretty harmless, but again, it's a little heady.
What does Russell believe happens after death? Well, my best guess is based somewhat on ideas of panpsychism.
Yeah, so one of the main changes that he made, like when she keeps saying it's heady, a lot of the stuff like goes over people's head and is really like, you know, you have to think like, you know, you got to really like be into it and follow it or whatever. Like some of it is difficult to understand or whatever. And the stuff that he's making now is way more simpler. Let me play some more.
The views on these videos are even worse than his lefty content. A lot of it doesn't even break 100K, and it ends up being some of the worst performing content on his channel. But then, something happens. Near the end of 2020, Brand is posting his typical content, How Money Corrupts Us, 42,000 views. How to Panic Less, 63,000 views. Can Loneliness Destroy You, 86,000 views. Then he publishes COVID Vaccines, Skepticism or Trust, a video where he raises doubts over the safety of COVID vaccines.
Any of you that want to have unshakable faith in the emergence of these vaccines, do not Google Pfizer scandal.
And that gets over 1 million views. And the commenters are thrilled. Have to be honest, never used to be a fan of this guy. But this channel is actually awesome. I don't know how I've gone this long and just found Russell's YouTube channel. I've never been a fan of Russell, but he makes some intelligent points here. And Brand goes back to his normal content. Save yourself by saving others, 37,000 views. Annie Lennox on how it feels to be an entertainer, 80,000 views. Is the pandemic being used to mask a wealth and power transfer? 1.5 million views. And the commenters are eating it up. I have a renewed respect and admiration for this man. Why am I so late in realizing that this guy is utterly brilliant? New fan here. Brand quickly realizes that
The freaking pandemic was the greatest transfer of wealth in history. I have to say that.
So if you do, but hold on. So is it? So because he chose to talk about a topic that is very prevalent everywhere and given his take on it, it's his fault that he got more views from that than the ones where he still wants to put out content that you know, he putting out regular content. So first of all, you need to be relevant to somewhat to be able to affect people. And even if he did, you know, was being strategic about, you know, using certain content to be able to get views, does not mean that he's not being genuine, because unless he's lying and he's just doing stuff that's, you know, that's just totally absurd, then okay, that's one thing. But to have the conversation because it brings more views is just a part of, you know, the tact that people use in business. All right, these are things that need to happen in order for me to have a, you know, some kind of effect, or, you know, to be able to reach people, period. So I don't know.
I think he was being genuine there. He was. I think he was being genuine there. She hasn't got to the point. Let me play some.
Okay.
All
right.
It's time for another Brand baby. Woo! It's tea.
Why do the media hate you?
Pretty quickly, Brand's channel starts devolving into a cesspool of right-wing paranoia.
A relentless march towards tyranny where ordinary people are mercilessly crushed.
He starts making videos about the Great Reset, a conspiracy theory that claims that climate change is an excuse to control the people.
The Great Reset. You will own nothing and you will be happy.
And the videos do incredibly well. 1.1 million, 2.7 million. So he starts making more and more and more. He branches out to new conspiracy theories too. Conspiracy theories about Hunter Biden, conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton, about the war in Ukraine, about the origins of COVID, about the January 6th riot.
Is it time to disband the FBI, or would that amount to shutting down a key wing of the Democrat Party?
And these conspiracy theories are a hit. All the videos I just showed you have around 1 million views or more. You can see in this chart how Brand's view count starts spiking once he pivots to being more reactionary. So Brand pivots even harder. He changes his whole aesthetic. Gone are the days of the soft-spoken wellness guru.
Grief is the price we pay for love.
Now every video starts with Brand just screaming a bunch of nonsense.
Coup! Coup! What does it do? It cheers up NATO and it distracts you!
His thumbnails change too. In 2020, they're soothing, simple, and they all feature this like new age symbolism. By 2021, he's going for shock value. Every thumbnail's a split screen of him making some horrified face next to some cheap composite image. This one just says the end is near with the title, The Establishment Wants You Dead. It's gimmicky, but it works. Brand's views keep climbing. And as they do, his video titles get more and more ridiculous. At the start of his transformation, it's, was Trump right? Trump was right. Trump is right. But pretty quickly, Brand's channel goes full clickbait. It's starting. Here we go. It begins. Why is no one stopping this? It just happened. This will destroy us. This will end us. It's over. The end. All this gloom.
Those freaking titles right there are like make me want to vomit. You know, it works. It's just like for children. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like grown people with children with the mind of a child. You know, it you know, those titles they attract your simplest parts of your mind, like, you know what I mean, like it there's not very much thought there in that, and it's like, oh, it's the end, let me click on that video and see what they're talking about, you know what I mean?
Bro,
Like,
well, I mean, it's maybe something, maybe it affects some people to that extent, but I mean, really, some people want to see it not just because, oh, it's simple. No, okay, we know, okay, he's over exaggerating. And it's just like, all right, you know what? He's very entertaining and he has a certain way of being able to express a story. So, I mean, you know, maybe I would be considered one of the simple people, I guess, but it's not really as simple as how you're trying to make it, because a lot of us know that that's what they do. And it's fine. Like, you know, you can put whatever title you want. And yes, for some people, it's gonna draw, you know, you're gonna draw some people because, you know, how simple they are. But some people actually think way past that and still wants to hear it because, okay, we know this guy's entertaining and we can still pick up something and learn something from this guy.
yeah, well, it has a repulsive it for me when those clickbait titles I'm gonna scroll. I'm never gonna click on them because
well, there's a lot of things
clickbait.
that you believe. Well, there's a lot of things that you believe that, you know, some people know to be totally different, or, you know, you have a different viewpoint. Like you, like there's a bunch of people like you that see it the way y'all see it, and then there's things, you know, other. But there's people that's on the opposite side that does the exact same thing or even worse. Like all the stuff that they use about Trump and the things that gets them views because they say stuff about Trump. Like, do you know how like that's probably even more popular than what you're saying now, like what the right is doing. Like, believe me, like, and these are left wingers who are using this right wing stuff to try to say how ridiculous things are, but nobody really wants to talk about like the proof, the evidence that's there that probably would, you know, maybe sway you if you're thinking other than the fact that you've already been programmed to disconnect from stories like that, because it's no way they did anything like that. You know, so these are politicians. They would never do anything like that. They wouldn't lie.
I don't think like that, and I don't like. I hear you when you say that the left does the same thing with the clickbait titles, but I'm gonna keep scrolling past those too. It's like the title "This Will Destroy Us." What's the other one? You know, it's just those. Like, let me play some more of this.
Well, you mean give me that? I was gonna say Roland Martin is one of the worst. And I sent you a video of him and how he got busted on. Well, it's a Tim Black video, but he, he's talking about Roland Martin and how, you know, well, we can get into that later. But however, um, yeah, let's finish up with this.
Yeah, I want to get through the Russell brand so I can move on.
Paranoia brings brand a new financial opportunity: sponsorships. In 2021, brand's videos start including advertisements for supplements.
The world's first probiotic to support gut, brain, and immune health. And God knows you need good natural immunity these days. Right, kids?
Greens powders.
Field of Greens is a science-backed formula of specific fruits and vegetables you won't find in any other product.
And gold.
There is a way to secure your hard-earned nest egg. American Hartford Gold make it easy to protect your savings and retirement accounts with physical gold.
And Brand isn't doing this alone. He starts inviting more and more right-wing guests onto his show. In 2021, he interviews Ben Shapiro, and it becomes one of his most viewed videos of all time. Shapiro invites Brand on his show. You know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Russell, thanks so much for joining the show. It's great to talk to you.
Wow, man. And you do a good job of this. Thanks, Ben.
Go ahead. You want to make comments? I don't blame people for using the sponsorship deals. I don't understand why that works so well with people. Like, just because this guy uses it as a sponsor and they really think that Russell Brand is using these products. I mean, you're silly to fall for that stuff. It's like the NFL player is in the commercial, so I'm gonna go buy the product because I'm a fan of that player. Like, I don't understand how that shit even works. But whatever.
Advertisement works when you have a following. It doesn't matter, and everybody like in business wants to sell their product, so they'll spend money in these different places. Like you are angry about advertisements because of how well they work. Like there's, but how
I'm not. I just feel like people are. I don't understand why it works. That's what I don't understand.
Well, no, I mean, because the average person is not, they're just living and they're just doing and being, and certain things like you actually have to have a defense up to be able to block a lot of these things, because before we got to that level of knowledge and acceptance of these certain things, we were the same way. So I mean, it just is what it is, but at the same time, that's a part of why we're here, is to try to give different perspectives to people, something that they can think about, and then maybe, because like some things I want to be sold on, some things I like the enjoyment of, like for whatever, it's like certain products then there's certain things I like to laugh at and say, oh, are they serious? Is this really how they're going to try to get my money? Like, it just just in being able to accept it just for what it is. But overall, I just think that because the main thing that I was interrupting about was the when they bring on other people, it's just like in an album when you have features, you're trying to add on to your crowd, you're trying to get other people to, because like those people that you're inviting on, they're bringing people with them. It's like, oh yeah, they're on such and such, or the part of the algorithm, just the fact that their name pops up on on your video, and especially if it has a viral moment. I mean, it's just good for business, because I mean, none of these people are. I mean, as much like I would love to get paid to do what we're doing, but like I said, we're taking our time, we're growing slowly but surely, but overall, like there's certain things you do so that you can grow, you can add to your crowd and things like that, and it doesn't make you a sellout. Some of these people that you're adding to your crew might be somebody that you might be against to some extent, but they're on your thing because you're trying to give a fair chance for them to express their side and maybe have the discourse that people need to hear.
Yeah,
like it's not always a sellout move though.
The one hand washes the other, and I agree with that. And the supporting each other's platforms or whatever because they're bringing the crowd with them. I get it, and having conversations about different sides, and that's what we do here on this show. I get it. but it's the flip that has happened because he was all about the left. That's what we were covering. She was talking about early on. So, but now all of his,
I can identify.
he's Tucker Carlson,
But no, I
Ben
can
Shapiro.
identify because just a few years ago I was the same way, like the same kind of mindset, the same thinking points. But then when you get open to different perspectives, giving yourself the ability to see from other angles, then you kind of like, well, you have more options to think from. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not just stuck on what you've always been stuck on. You allow yourself the ability to say, well, what about this? And then what about that? We can't forget about this. And then it's just like, no, none of that shit makes sense because you have more things to pull from as far as your knowledge base. So
Let me play some more.
New shtick gets him invited on other shows too. He goes on Joe Rogan to complain about the Democrats.
I don't think that they are creating an agenda to advance the interests of vulnerable people.
He goes on Bill Maher to complain about MSNBC.
I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propaganda.
And then in 2023, he goes on Fox News, the network he has spent his career criticizing, not as a critic, but as a hero.
Russell Brand has been an actor, a comedian, a podcast host for decades. All of a sudden, he's one of the most forceful voices for the truth in the English-speaking world.
So what happened here? Is it possible that Russell Brand genuinely had a radical change of heart and mind in less than a year? Maybe? I mean, I'm not in his brain, thank God. But there's a simpler explanation for what's happening here. Call it rift drift. See, the problem with the kind of free thinking that Russell was doing in his lefty era is that it's hard to sell. Sure, Brand can complain about Fox News and talk about how the media sensationalizes things to keep us watching, but then what? How many times can you tell
why is
I
it
need to
hard to
focus on
sell?
more serious issues like environmental justice or antitrust laws or possible alternatives to capitalism? Oh my God, it's so boring. There's no story arc, there's no heroes and villains, there's no sex. And more importantly, there's no reason to keep coming back. If the problem is that corporate media sensationalizes things, then why not turn it off? You could just stop watching Fox, go outside, touch grass, call your mom, tell her you love her, find a stranger, give them a kiss consensually, start a religion. I don't
stay
know.
disconnected.
What's the point in watching
Don't
Brand make
listen
the
to
same
people
argument over and over
that
and
is
over?
telling you
In
truth.
itself,
Go ahead. I love the thing with
It
the
sounds like what
internet.
she's saying. It sounds like what she's saying is like, you don't have to listen to all of this stuff. You can just be in denial and don't have to really accept truth. You can just go and, you can go do something else with your life other than listening to stuff and getting, okay, yeah, okay, yes, that's an option. But for a lot of people, like that's the exact opposite of what you're gonna do when you start to learn and want to be a better human being. You're gonna do shit that is gonna reflect that. Like I don't know anybody that just really just says, all right, yes, I know I could do better, but fuck me and fuck everybody else.
She's talking about sensory overload, and she was talking about his change, and she was saying that the stuff that he was doing before, it doesn't give people a reason to keep coming back to watch the stuff. She's
Well,
saying
no,
that
because no, the reason why like a lot of the left stuff is not really attractive anymore is because it's bullshit. I mean, it's just really as simple as that. Like, like when you look at the holistic approach of all of it, like there's nothing to offer because you've been lied to. They make you believe that the Constitution doesn't protect you. You need extra laws to make you fit into this whole thing. When if you really get to the bare bolts and nuts of all of these things, like the Constitution protects everybody. And if you want to put yourself into the I'm a failure bag and cry and whine about every fucking thing, then yes, you're not going to accomplish much. That's just the way it is.
let me play some more.
Proclaimed last episode of The Truths, even Brand admitted that he was bored of making these same free-thinking arguments about the media.
How far can you go with this cyclical reporting on cyclical news?
So then what is Brand really selling? What's Brand's brand? Do people really want to watch a washed-up comedian explain how money corrupts us or how we need a global revolution against corporate power? Obviously not. Turns out free thinking is hard to monetize.
Can't be good, can it, to spend all this time, our eyes resting on screens, people on the other side of the screen, hiding, trying to sell us something.
The more people can actually think for them, the less they need carnival barkers like Brand to tell them what's what. And
That's the point right there. The more people can think for themselves, the less they need to watch these videos. You know what I mean? Like to tell them what to do. So that's the reason why that stuff doesn't work for that particular audience, because the first time he does a really good video that really hits people, then they're gonna unplug a bit. You know what I mean? They're gonna go on their own and try to, learn
But
stuff
I
on
think
their
that's
own.
but isn't that the point? Like, I mean, I don't know if because I mean, I guess really to really get into his, his frame, like how he really thinks would be a good idea than to just assume that he plans to be here forever. Because I mean, my thing is, I would, I'm not like the politicians. I don't want to have to be dependent on to for people to think a certain way. I would give my perspective to a certain extent. I feel like once I feel like I've given enough wind to it, I'm done. Like, I'm not coming to this show no more. I don't care if I'm getting paid or not, because it's like, okay, once the job is done, like if we get enough people that can, that are able to think for themselves, regardless of what direction they think for. But as long as they're thinking for themselves, they're not just allowing, the common narrative to take them over and just, oh, they just believe this because this is what they say. No, what do you fucking think about this? Like,
Yeah, what see when you stand on your square and you're confident in what you believe in, then you don't need constant reassurance. So on the other side, these other folks, the ones that's giving him the millions of views, are people that need someone to tell them that they're right about the way that they think or whatever. They need this constant reassurance. They need this, this echo chamber. They need this to be constantly fed that, my extreme views or whatever is right.
Well, do you think that at some point, okay, even with, because I mean, life, like there's things that's just not, things are not going in everybody's direction all the time. Everybody has the ebbs and flows. So there's gonna be time, like that's a part of the human condition. Is just that, you might be doing the right thing, but you look for confirmation from time to time that, hey, all right, you know what I'm doing is what I want to fight for. This is what I believe is right for myself and the people around me, blah blah blah. You're not gonna, like, I don't know anybody who's confident about their move every time. Sometimes we just gotta move just because like there's no more room left over here, so I gotta go this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like I said, those numbers will diminish over time, because if what they're doing and they're actually learning how to think for themselves, because we got to realize, like, we're talking about 4 decades at minimum, maybe more than that, maybe 10, over the last 100 years, where we're talking about people who have been fed a certain narrative and believe it, with only a few people seeing the other side because they knew the truth. Most people didn't even know that they needed to lie, because they trusted everything that people was telling them was the truth. And like, when you start realizing that you've been lied to and they're still lying to you, like, that's not something that you're gonna, you're gonna start doing different things, and you're gonna see other.